game changers.
Our lead story tonight is from Ukraine. The war is intensifying, Russia is going all guns blazing, and Ukraine is losing ground. American intel says Russia is launching a big offensive, and they're throwing everything into it: soldiers, tanks, even fighter jets. The focus is on eastern Ukraine. The fighting has intensified in Bakhmut. It's a small Ukrainian city ravaged by the war. It is at the center of a fierce battle now. Russia wants to capture Bakhmut. Yesterday, Ukraine's forces, in fact, blew up a bridge there. They're trying to stop the Russian advance.
According to my friends who serve in Bakhmut, the situation is such that Russian troops can advance for one day. Then Ukrainian soldiers knock them out of these positions. There is no such thing as the enemy being able to gain a hold and dig in new positions. Our soldiers do not allow them to gain a hold in Bakhmut.
That was a Ukrainian soldier on the front lines. Both militaries have been fighting here since May last year. They've suffered heavy casualties. Now Russia is making a fresh but more aggressive push. But why Bakhmut? Why does Russia want to capture this small city of all places? Experts have a theory. Bakhmut could be a stepping stone. Once it is captured, Russia could make a bigger push in the east. One that targets Donetsk and Luhansk. Together, these two regions make up the Donbas. This is the main battlefield of the war. Last year, Russia declared that it had captured Donbas. Moscow staked a claim on 4 regions: Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. The announcement was made by Vladimir Putin himself. In 2014, he had taken Crimea from Ukraine. But this time it was different. Even though Russia claimed these territories, it wasn't really in control of them. Russian troops were present and in charge in just a few areas. Towards the end of 2022, Russia controlled just 18% of Ukraine. And Kiev kept pushing back on the battlefield. But today, the Ukrainian forces are struggling. Zelensky himself admits this is a tough situation.
And of course, today, as every day, I was in touch with our military, our commanders. I had a few meetings. The situation on the front line, especially in Donetsk and Luhansk regions, remains very difficult. The battles are literally for every foot of Ukrainian land.
Despite support from the West, Ukraine is struggling and the NATO is worried. NATO Chief Stoltenberg says Ukraine is using up its ammunition quickly and the demand is high. The West may find it difficult, in fact, to keep up the supply. I have some numbers. Russia has been firing 20,000 artillery shells a day. 20,000 every day. What about Ukraine? 6,000 to 7,000 shells. This is the average. And it's high. Ukraine may run out of supplies. Its main ally, the US, is already making appeals.
Ukraine has urgent requirements to help it meet this crucial moment in the course of the war. And President Zelensky underscored Ukraine's need for more equipment at our last meeting in Ramstein.
Ukraine has urgent requirements, says Lloyd Austin. Stoltenberg says Western defense industries are under strain. This is a war of attrition. It is now all about bigger guns and more ammunition. And there's no end to Ukraine's demands. First the tanks, then fighter jets, now ammunition. The list continues to grow. Moscow is sending reinforcements too. Reports say Russia is amassing aircraft close to the Ukraine border. These are fixed-wing and rotary aircraft, basically fighter jets and choppers. They've been moved close to Ukraine's borders. Will Russia deploy its air power soon? Is an air attack now imminent? It's hard to say, but Russia seems to be preparing for one, and it's getting support from Belarus. Let me show you some pictures. These are Belarusian troops. They're training in Brest. It's a border city in Belarus. This training ground is just 4 kilometers away from Poland and about 50 kilometers from Ukraine. These troops are preparing for combat. They're practicing driving, parachuting, and combat scenes. But why are Belarusian troops getting combat ready? Do they plan to enter Ukraine? President Alexander Lukashenko is an ally of the Kremlin. He's made major concessions to Russia in the past. His country has been used by Russian troops as a launch pad. Is Lukashenko preparing for the next step? Will he be sending his troops into Ukraine? The soldiers say they're ready.
We are ready for any task, however difficult, if we have to defend our beloved Belarus. We will not give our beloved away. It is ours, our beloved, our only one.
Either way, the battle in Ukraine will intensify. What is the thinking in Moscow then? It sees NATO's growing involvement as a clear threat. Yesterday, the Kremlin sent out this message to the West.
Слушайте, ну, во-первых, НАТО это враждебная нам организация.
First of all, NATO is an organization that is hostile to us, and that proves this hostility every day. It is trying its best to make its involvement in the conflict around Ukraine as clear as possible. That's the first thing. Of course, this demands certain precautionary steps to be taken.
And it's not just the battle on the ground. The information war between Russia and the West is also intensifying. Here's the latest against Russia. A Yale University study. This study makes some disturbing claims. It says Russia is running a re-education camp for Ukrainian children. At least 6,000 children are said to be in these camps. The study says they're from Russian-occupied regions in Ukraine like Donbass and Crimea. And what's the purpose of these camps? Political re-education. According to the study, the children are apparently being trained in Russian values. The US says these children were separated from their families.
In many cases, Russia purported to temporarily evacuate children in Ukraine under the guise of a free summer camp, only to later refuse to return the children and to cut off all contact with their families. Such actions obviously will have serious long-term implications on these children's development. The network of facilities which these children are sent is vast, spanning from Russia-occupied Crimea, across Russia itself, from the Black Sea region to its far east.
Russia has challenged these claims. The Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. released a statement. It says these kids are orphans. I have that statement with me, and this is what it says. We do our best to keep underage people in families, and in cases of absence or deaths of parents and relatives, to transfer orphans under guardianship. We've not been able to verify either version, but we can say for sure that these children are collateral damage, and in the days and weeks ahead, there will be more like them. The fighting is intensifying as the war comes close to its first anniversary. There's a serious risk of this conflict spilling over.